ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm John Weeks, and this is The Leader. As airlines and airports continue to struggle with the ongoing travel chaos in the UK and abroad, there's fresh drama brewing in London. This summer, passengers flying to and from Heathrow have suffered severe disruption, long security queues, and baggage system issues, largely caused by post-pandemic staffing shortages. To add to that, though, today Emirates has rejected Heathrow's order to stop selling some plane tickets to comply with its 100,000 a day cap on passenger numbers. The airline issued a statement accusing Heathrow of showing blatant disregard for consumers by attempting to force it to deny seats to tens of thousands of travellers. In response, Heathrow said it had asked airlines to help come up with a plan to solve their resourcing challenges, but no clear plans were put forward, and the airport had no choice but to impose a capacity cap. It's the latest example of tensions caused by this travel chaos. Travel journalist Simon Calder joins me now to dissect this story. So Simon, first of all, can you just explain this situation regarding Emirates and Heathrow? What has happened?
You have to start with where we are, and that is that hub airports across Europe are showing immense, I was going to say growing pains, regrowing pains, getting back to a normal summer where there is clearly a huge amount of demand from travellers who trying to make up for lost sunshine, really, after the 2 years almost complete close down due to the pandemic. And unfortunately, they are not very well resourced. The UK is arguably in a worse position than anybody else, and that's because we had deeper cuts because of the extraordinary travel restrictions that the government decided to impose, and we've also had a faster bounce back than any other country, I believe, as a result of which, well, British Airways at Heathrow have been showing immense strain, and they've cancelled a total of 30,000 flights this summer. I can't even believe I'm saying that number. While at Gatwick, EasyJet again have completely overpromised what they could deliver. But Heathrow, with scenes that are particularly concentrated at Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, just unable, they say, to deliver the sorts of level of service they want. We've had bags piling up. We've had a couple of baggage system failures. As a result of that, they've just said, right, 100,000, that's the top number of passengers we'll allow to depart. And again, things you can't imagine that you would ever say. So they've told airlines to stop selling seats, even though these would be extremely lucrative seats sold at the last minute at premium prices for the rest of the summer, and to cancel a lot of flights to get that number down to 100,000. And Emirates have just said, effectively, you must be joking. Our planes are fully booked. We can guarantee that our service at Heathrow will be fine. If you can't cope, then that's your lookout, pal, and we're not cancelling any.
Do you think, there could come a situation where enough pressure is piled on, whether that's from airlines or passengers, on Heathrow, and they say, okay, do you know what, we back down, we're not going to do this cap anymore?
I think we will see the cap flexing, I think would be the term that would be used, because, well, Emirates described it as completely plucked from thin air, a completely arbitrary target that it does appear to apply to everybody, even if, and Emirates has a pretty solid ground handling operation, not least because Donata is all part of the same Dubai-based enterprise. Now, I need to stress, when we're talking on Thursday afternoon, Airport Coordination Limited, which is the company, it's an independent organisation that coordinates all the slots, arrival and departure at the world's most congested hubs. They are negotiating with airlines. So it might well be that some of the airlines that are missing, and goodness me, American Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, Delta, Qatar Airways, Etihad, all missing from this list. It may be that they will appear, because otherwise I'm going to be feeling quite cheesed off if I'm in a position where I've had to cancel, and it's difficult to see why. Virgin Atlantic were very, very strict when they came out to say, we grudgingly will cancel flights, but we want to know that this isn't going to be just on the home carriers. We want the pain to be spread around, but it appears that at the moment they're not taking any pain at all.
And this is going to lead to an impasse a bit, isn't it? Because you've got Emirates who say, we're not going to cancel seats and stop selling seats. Heathrow saying, well, you need to. What resolution could there be? What is the next thing that could happen either way, I suppose?
Well, we're in slightly uncharted territory, so we just don't know. I mean, the NOTAM, the Notice to Airmen, and of course Airwomen, has gone out saying stop selling seats. I've never heard of that. Any airline will tell you that the people who are just desperate to travel, who will pay £200, £300, £400 for a short haul flight, are exactly the individuals who keep the whole aviation business going. And already I've seen a pretty accurate estimate from OAG, well-known schedule analysts, which says that this is going to cost £500 million to the airlines, who were really looking forward to making hay while the summer sun shone. So I think we will get to a stage where the number of passengers possibly will breach that 100,000 cap every day. But if it's looking as though it's fairly managed, I think the necessity to do that may ease. Bear in mind that we are coming up to Friday the 22nd of July and Friday the 29th of July, which we were expecting to be the highest pressure at Heathrow in terms of passenger numbers. And I think once we get past those and into August, because quite a lot of Heathrow's traffic is normally business, and that obviously eases off during August, we may find that the problem kind of evaporates in the summer sun.
And just finally, in terms of passengers, how do you think this will impact their behaviour, really? Are they going to avoid using Heathrow as a departure airport so that they don't risk losing out on seats?
Well, it's really important to remember that the vast majority of people, even with this bizarre intervention by Heathrow, will still get, even if they're flying from Heathrow, even if they're flying on BA, the vast majority will still get where they need to be. However, as I've written in The Independent, always good to have a plan B. And I think that increasingly airlines, and Heathrow, clearly the most in-demand international airport in the world, which is one reason it has such high charges, they might be looking around and thinking, do we want all our eggs in one basket? Or do we want possibly to consider running some of our UK services, more of them, out of Manchester? And certainly looking at some of the airlines that have been particularly badly hit by this, it might be that they think, yeah, actually, well, maybe we'll set up a bit of an operation at Stansted or Birmingham or somewhere else where we can still get quite a lot of the London market, which is certainly the biggest and richest in Europe. So I think we might, this might turn out to be not in Heathrow's long-term interests if it destabilises the airlines and makes passengers feel a bit wobbly.
Let's take a break now. In part 2, we'll hear from travel expert Rob Staines about the current issues facing travel and when things might get back to normal.
I truly believe that by this time next year, we're going to be looking back on summer 2022 thinking, oh my gosh, that was, it wasn't that awful, but thank goodness it's all over.
Travel expert Rob Staines joins me now. First of all, Rob, we know flights abroad have been a real nightmare for some during the summer so far. So when can we expect these issues to finally be resolved? And will things eventually get back to normal?
Absolutely. I mean, I truly believe that by this time next year, we're going to be looking back on summer 2022 thinking, oh my gosh, that was, it wasn't that awful, but thank goodness it's all over. And what I will say is that firms are doing absolutely everything they can to onboard new staff. They're also welcoming back lots of people who left the industry that have decided to come back, and they're doing everything they can to get people through the door. So as time goes on, airports and airlines are going to have far more better resources to be able to offer the services that they want to provide to customers, because nobody in the industry actually wants to be seeing these sort of like terrible headlines or their customers experiencing quite chaotic scenes at airports or flights being cancelled last minute. But there are lots of decisions being made within the industry, quite bold and difficult decisions, to actually try and minimise these last minute cancellations and delays that we have been seeing.
And obviously, we know Heathrow has introduced this passenger cap to try to cope with the situation. Do you think that was the right move, or does it just cause more problems for airlines and passengers?
But it's an unprecedented decision, to be fair. It's not something that we've seen Heathrow ever do before. Heathrow are not the first airport within the UK to implement a flight cap. We've seen Gatwick do it already. Gatwick, they've actually capped their flights this month to 825 and 850 next month. That's down from 900. That's to make sure that they can, again, offer the services that they want to offer to their customers. But I truly think that Heathrow making this very bold and difficult decision is the right decision to make, because basically what they're saying is we want to minimise last minute cancellations and we want to streamline and make everyone's journey a lot easier if possible. And I know it might sound a bit odd saying that, you know, we're going to actually disrupt potentially 4,000 people a day. However, the majority of people will be getting away to where they want to go on that day. So Heathrow has capped their customers coming through the door at 100,000 a day, but there's actually about 104,000 seats on offer every single day. So potentially those 4,000 people are going to be disrupted. However, on the flip side to that, Heathrow are actually saying of those 4,000 extra seats, only about 1,500 are currently sold. So they're actually asking airlines to pause selling because, again, that's going to disrupt less people.
And we've heard so many stories about people's experiences going through the airports in the UK this summer. You've been through one recently. How did you find it?
My journey both ways was absolutely fine. Now, I travelled through Heathrow Terminal 3. I checked in absolutely fine. When I got to the departures level and saw the queue snaking around the terminal building, I must say my heart skipped a beat. I made sure I left plenty of time. I got to the airport 3 hours before departure. But I must say, from getting into that queue, I was actually only in it for about 35 minutes. And I could not praise the staff more for sort of their resilience and actually getting everybody through. The queue was constantly moving. They were constantly going throughout the queue, checking when people's flights were, telling people what they needed to take out for airport security. And it was actually really, really streamlined. And for the amount of people in that bloated terminal, really well organised. My flight took off on time. My baggage arrived, although I did make sure that I took a GPS luggage tag with me, which I would advise anybody to be taking with them at the moment, because there have been issues with baggage in certain areas. But again, most people are getting their baggage. And it was actually a very enjoyable journey. And so my travel anxiety really wasn't necessary. So I think it's really important that this summer, when we are travelling, is to go into it with an open mind and make sure that you are leaving plenty of time and just be prepared. The likelihood is you are going to be getting to your destination, because we are seeing lots of cancellations, lots of flights affected, but to put it into context, it's still only about 3 to 4% of all flights. So the majority of people are going to be fine.
So considering the current disruption, how do you see things panning out, not just in the UK, but internationally over the next 6 months?
I mean, that's a really good point, because it's not just the UK that's seeing disruption. We're seeing disruption actually across the world. So, you know, the USA, thousands of flights have been cancelled over there. Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, that's had a really hard time as well. Dublin, Cologne, lots of different airports around the world have been having problems. But again, a lot of this is down to staffing issues. And as time goes on, more staff will be entering the industry, and that will bolster resilience. I really do not think that in sort of the next 6 months we're going to be seeing the scenes that we are seeing at the moment. I don't think we're going to have as many cancellations. We might have delays. To be honest, delays are quite normal in the travel industry, unfortunately. But with more people coming in, we are going to really bolster resilience, and things are going to get better and a lot more streamlined. And I think what we're going to see is actually a bit of a bumper winter, because some people have actually put off their travel plans this summer and have decided to go away in the colder months.
There's more news in the Evening Standard newspaper and at standard.co.uk. That's The Leader. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m.